50,000 volunteers that work within the organisation. So I think one and all, they're all community champions. We've spoken about this earlier tonight. Everyone in this room, there's so many familiar faces in this room tonight, and you're community champions, one and all. You all step up, you all get involved, we all love the work that we do. Now that's enough out of me, because I can feel Key getting his crook ready to pull me off the stage. So without further ado, I would announce that the recipient of the Peter Hitchcock Community Award is Tony Rossi.
Tony Rossi, a third generation cane farmer born and raised on the Mulgrave River catchment, passionate about the environment, president of Mulgrave Land Care Group, and through his leadership and role as an advocate for wet tropics restoration, Mulgrave Land Care is a well-known and very well-respected. Back in 2019, Tony's family won the Reef Alliance Nutrient Champions Award, Queensland's Land Care Farming Award, and he also won the Queensland Individual Award. So please, Tony, say a few words.
To start with, I'd like to acknowledge Jabbercoin Mob. Great setup you got out of here, and really hope it takes off again for you all. Yeah, same thing. I've got a lot of people to thank. I'm the chairman of Mulgrave Land Care. It's a great little mob, and one of the proudest things I've experienced over there over the years is working with the Yindinchi clans out there, the Tullabit Malamara. They're the stone people. They're the Goldsboro, and where the river's still got stone, and then it runs down into the sands of Wanyaramaja. And yeah, a lot of our tree planting that we've done over the years, we're starting to work with the clans, and you know, they're joint partners with us. It's really, really special. But I think in particular, growing up on the Mulgrave River has really made a big effect on me. I'm of Northern Italian cane cutter stock. So we've been there only 100 years, 4 generations. And the spirit of place that I feel in 4 generations, I know has been there for 40,000 generations. And it's a really special place, the Mulgrave Valley. And all of our houses out there, Rossi Mill they call it these days, we're all within about 20 metres of the river. And people say, how come you're there? And it was simply the fact that the rest of the cane farm there goes underwater, so there's a little high esplanade. So we get to really enjoy farming there. And over the years, I was really inspired by my twin brother, Chris. He received a Cassowary Award way back in 2000, 22 years ago now. We were much younger then, of course. But I'd been working in northern New South Wales in a sugar refinery because I'm a chemist by trade, worked in the mills and refineries. And when I came back, Chris had been inspired by other Cassowary Award winners like Jeff Tracy, Nigel Tucker. And Chris really pioneered the movement. And when you're working with fairly conservative industry, I really think guys like Chris and Tom Waters, who was another very strong farmer, and that's what you've got to be for people that are listening to you. You know, otherwise they'll dismiss you as a long-haired hippie or something. But so when I came back, Chris introduced me to the whole concept of land care, and you know, being of that Italian stock, we were as poor as anyone. My grandfather. And I hope I don't say anything too controversial, but it was probably the only time that anyone took the heat off the Murrays. When the Second World War came, the Italians were more hated than the Murrays were, okay? And I'm not going to go on about it, but my grandfather was interned for 5 years And you know, he got 2 hours notice. They said, "Where's Giovanni?" They said, "He's over the river with cutting cane." They said, "Tell him to be at Gordon Vale." I probably am going to say some controversial stuff. They said, "Tell him to be at Gordon Vale railway station with a suitcase." And he basically went for 5 years during the war, and because he was an alien. And down in Loveday, they did something that you see a lot with the way the governments manage the First Nation people. And even amongst the Italians, they put them all in together, and there were fascists, there were socialists, communists, anarchists. They put them all in together, and the fascists beat the others up. My grandfather was a big man. He wasn't a political bloke, but he was that big, no one touched him. But there were murders, there were local men that were murdered there, all put in together. And it sounds familiar, I know, to the First Nation people. So, on a positive note, I get in a lot of strife because I wear 3 hats. I was trained as an industrial chemist working in the mills. So my love of water quality and understanding that goes back 30 years. And then when I went back to the farm, became very interested in sustainable stuff. And you know, my brothers and I have been really working hard. We got a reef trust grant off the Commonwealth government, and we're making 3,000 tonne of farm-based compost. It's one of those beautiful things that to make it all work, they've got to be cheap products. And when you think of all the regional councils on the eastern seaboard, they all have problematic products like the biosolids, which is the treated effluent, and the green waste, which is everyone's palm trees and backyard stuff that gets bowl ground. Now, those 2 products alone can be problematic. So the ability to use those relatively cheap products and turn them into compost. And look, we've been going at it for 10 years. When we first started to use the regional council biosolids, we were doing a thing called muck spreading, and it's one of these wagons that who flung dung, you know. If you literally want to shoot your neighbours off, that's what you do. So, and anyway, we realised it would jeopardise our compost production, so we don't do that anymore. And I'd suggest that all biosolid waste should be turned into high-value compost and used. Now, the one thing, when you get a government grant or something, they want to say that everyone can do it, and that's not true. But in every regional council, there'll be a couple of cane farmers, probably 10%, that could use those products and really cut back on their fertiliser. And that's what we've been able to do, and we're very proud of that. We're using half the fert of most of our mates, and we've probably got the greenest routines in the valley. But it's a learning process, and we're at the point now where we're ready to teach the others. But it's a little bit like any step change, and I know I've gone over the 2 minutes, but here we go. In the sugar industry, the big first step change was the cane knife going to the cane harvester. And my uncle and Robert Rossi and Dad Ricky, they were pioneers in that, and had one of the first chopper harvesters. And we had the Massey Ferguson engineers come out and live on the farm with us, and just way before my time, but heady times they must have been. And they had a field trial to demonstrate the 515, and there were 2,000 farmers from Ingham North came along, and it didn't go well. Old Robert was there, he was leaving a foot of stubble, there was cane going everywhere, and most of the men left that trial going, it's not going to work, you know. And it was a good example that even really good men didn't see that change, and then Mulgrave became the first mill area in the world to become fully mechanised. The second big step change was the change from burnt cane to green. And once again, our cousin had one of the first, Bob Rossi, that a lot of you have probably known. He was a real larrikin, but he really pioneered green harvesting, and that was a real step change. We were farming just next door, and we were still burning and cutting and looking at Waldman saying that's not the way. And then Mulgrave Mill area became the first in the world to be 99% cut green, and all the advantages of trash blanketing and everything that came with it. So that was a second step change. Not everyone got it straight away. The third step change is what's happening now with regenerative techniques. And I'll tell you now, a lot of them aren't getting it either. And I can be an impatient sort of guy, and I do get frustrated. And even my twin brother says, "Tone, you've got to pull your head in, mate." And the one thing that, because I'm a bit of a free agent, I don't work for Terrain or Sugar Research or cane growers. Mulgrave Land Care is about the only mob there that I really feel strongly about. But you know, so I can talk, and Scott knows that, and you know, I usually tease most of the CEOs, and they know I'm saying it in a genuine way. And so anyway, thanks again, and thanks to all of you.
Tony. Our next award is the Government and Industry Initiatives Award.